We got 3 LS engines here, and we're going to go over each one of them in detail. We got an LS1, an LS2, and an LS3 here. These can be bought from our sister company, Next Gen Parts Place. We'll put the info on the screen, and basically we're the largest LS-based salvage yard in the Northeast, and we also sell Coyote drivetrains, but we don't want to talk about that here. We're going to start out with the LS1 here. Now this is the last year of the LS1 and the only year it came in a GTO. The GTO has a little bit different front drive than the Corvette. It will fit in some muscle cars, it won't fit in others. You got to kind of determine that as you go. But it is a good budget drivetrain to throw in your muscle car. Like the C5 LS1, this is also a 24X reluctor wheel, so you got to make sure you keep that in mind when you're ordering your standalone harness and computer. You can run a 4L60 behind here. You can run basically any GM automatic transmission behind here or manual transmission, and you can control with the stock computer, or you can go with a Holley or Haltech or any other aftermarket computer and standalone system. Right here, this drivetrain will run you around $4,000, so it's a pretty good drivetrain for the money. It's about 350 horsepower, so it's a good option. Now if you want to step up to a little bit more horsepower, let's say around 400 horsepower, this is your LS2. This would have came in a 2005 to 2007 Corvette or 05, 06 GTO, and a couple other GM vehicles would have had these engines. Now this is the tricky part, because when we went to the LS2 in 05, GM stuck with the 24X reluctor on the crankshaft, and then the next year in 06 they went up to the 58X reluctor wheel on the crank trigger. So that's a big determining factor when you go to order all your swap conversion parts. You gotta do your research and make sure you have the engine, the correct year of the engine you bought, and what version crank trigger you have. So this one was an 05 Corvette, so it would still have a 24X reluctor wheel. So in all, this LS2 is a great option for a swap. Remember, when you buy a used LS2 from a Corvette, you're going to have to find a transmission for it, because all the Corvettes were rear-mounted transmissions and they will not work in a front engine conversion. So you'll have to source your transmission elsewhere. But this is a good option. 400 horsepower, around $5,000 for this used drivetrain, and it's a good, definitely a good option. The last engine I'm going to talk about is the LS3, which came out in 2008, and we had some big changes in the LS3 from the LS2. We went from cathedral port heads to rectangle port heads, which are better in every way. They flow better, they make more power. So this is probably the go-to engine drivetrain for a hot rodder or LS swap candidate. 430 horse. It can go to 5 and a quarter, 5.5 with just a cam swap. This is a 5th gen Camaro front drive. It'll work in some muscle cars, but it's not the greatest front drive. You may have to go to a Holley or something aftermarket to fit in whatever you're swapping. So in all, this is a great drivetrain for a swap. These can be had between the $7,000 and $8,000 range for a used dropout with transmission. So it's a good option, and it's good horsepower for the money. All right, guys, that'll do it for this episode, and hopefully this helps you determine what LS drivetrain to use in your swap.